Today we're working with Zeus again. He's very nervous and uncomfortable around people, and he's particularly shy about his face, and especially on his right side. Most likely due to all the flies we've had around here lately. All of the horses have a little bit of goo in their eyes. They're rubbing their eyes quite a bit, and the flies are particularly attracted to that spot of their face. So Zeus has quite a bit of goo in there, and as a good exercise here, we're just going to work on cleaning that out. We're also working now with Zeus on the beginning of him releasing, and that is, cueing him to let go of his mental and physical tension. Zeus harbors a lot of brace when people are near him. This is muscular and mental tension as a result of his fear. Until Zeus can let this tension go, we can't progress any further with training. However, he is a very attentive and sensitive horse, and I think this session is going to be fantastic. You'll notice that I'm not hooking the halter to the lead rope. Right now, such a movement would surely spook him and definitely cause brace. What I want to teach him is that there is no cause for concern, and that having my hands around his face and neck is simply a cue for him to relax. So all I'm doing right now is letting him get used to being in my space. Energetically, I'm just projecting contentment. I'm not asking for anything other than for him to feel peaceful. As you watch this video, pay close attention to Zeus. Initially, you'll note signs that he is harboring brace or tension, such as a tight jaw and neck, his eyes and ears, and his headset. If at any time he feels he needs to move, I'm going to let him. One thing Zeus will never feel is tightness in the lead rope. Allowing the lead rope to become tight, particularly jerking it, will cause him to brace against that pressure, just the same as someone grabbing your arm and pulling. We don't want him to ever experience that, because a horse that does will condition himself to brace any time the lead rope or a rein is picked up. And of course that is something that none of us wants. My primary goal in this moment is just to create a space for him where he can feel at peace. When he learns that he can relax in that space and he begins to trust that I can provide it for him, then I can ask him to try. My finger is just in the bottom loop of the halter. All I'm doing is very gently moving it, basically connecting to his neck muscles where he is very tense. Zeus is full of brace, and you can probably not notice it in this video, but I can feel him, and primarily sense in him when he begins to release. Those motions at this point are very tiny and minuscule, but it is very important that I recognize them and release on his thought as opposed to a big motion from him. I'm moving now toward clipping the lead rope on. You'll notice that he is in a much more relaxed state, and because I've been playing in that space around his head, he's much more receptive to the motion of the lead rope. You'll notice that sometimes he does turn his head away a bit, and that's okay. This is simply Zeus protecting that sacred space around his head. Therefore, I must be very conscious of not directing my energy toward his head. If I were to become energetic in any motion right now, I think he'd be gone. So Zeus is responding very nicely, so now I simply cue him to bring his head back, not pulling in any way at all, but energetically. Zeus is a very spatially sensitive horse, so simply energetically asking him to turn his head toward me achieves that result. And there we go. Here I'm just pulling a tissue out of my pocket so I can go to work on cleaning that goo out of his eye. Zeus is a little nervous again with the tissue, so we just switch it up a bit and I ask him to move out. This is actually the real beginning of our relationship, and it's great that we caught this on video. This is the first time that I'm asking Zeus to move out based only on my energetic presentation, and it doesn't take much energy for this sensitive guy. You'll see now that I can ask Zeus to turn in toward me, and when he does, a great thing happens. His attention is focused on me, and you'll see him let go of some of the tension and lick and chew a little bit. This is a great moment for us. This might seem small, but for Zeus, this is huge. Also note the direction of the lead rope. I'm not pulling it toward me since this would only cause him to brace against that pressure. Instead, the rope is at a forward angle toward the ground, and again, the weight I'm applying to the rope is about the weight of your cell phone, or maybe even less. You'll notice here how nicely Zeus is responding to very minute sensations in the lead rope. I'm energetically asking him for emotion and using that rope to cue him to release. Again, here you'll notice how he turns his head to the side. I'm continuing scratching his face as a signal for him to release against the tiny pressure in the lead rope. It's not possible to view on video, but so far in these few minutes there have been hundreds of tiny little releases from Zeus and subtle cues from me. These things are critical and very important. Why? Because we are building a foundation where Zeus is learning that I'm paying attention to his thoughts, and that all I'm asking with the lead rope at this point is for him to release. That way he'll never learn to anticipate brace when the reins are picked up. Instead, he'll relax. And when he's in that state of mind, we can then start playing with the elements of leadership. Zeus is now much more comfortable. I go ahead and wipe the goo off his face. He flinches a bit when I pull off some crusty stuff, but note that I don't allow the lead rope to become tight in response. I let him have his head and then simply cue him to bring it back again. This is great stuff. Right here, a really cool thing happens. Something moves in the trees, and Zeus jumps in response. My response is to match his anxiety in the opposite direction, by becoming calm and projecting that for him. You'll see that he picks up on it right away. He has a huge release with lots of licking and chewing here. This is great, because it is an indication that Zeus is really buying into this. But then again, how could he not? All I'm asking him to do is release, relax, and feel good. What I'd like you to notice here is the change in his eye, jaw, and headset. His eye is soft, his ears are toward me, he has a big release. What's not possible to capture on video is that his nervous energy is dissipating. I feel that he is much more relaxed and comfortable with me. This is great, because we still have his right eye to clean. Here you'll notice in his stance that he is nervous about me approaching the right side of his head. But the great thing is that his response is now much less flighty. He simply takes a step back. I let him do that without the lead rope becoming tense. It's important that he responds to how I'm asking him energetically. What I'm doing with the lead rope is simply asking him to release. He has to do that before he can take a step forward. But because stepping forward and presenting that right side is difficult for him, I'm going to ask him to release as I walk into his space. You'll see that initially he tries to block me by turning his head to the right. But now, although he is still uncomfortable, he allows me to touch the right side of his face. There is a slight lowering of his head, and his ears turn toward me. I can go in and clean up the goo on his face now. Again, he flinches a little bit right here as some crusty stuff comes off. However, he makes no attempt to leave me. You'll notice here this is very subtle, but I cue him to bring his attention and his eye back toward me, and he's right on it. I'm so proud of Zeus for how he's tried in this session.